So like on like pure definition, homo is same, and then like phobia is obviously a fear. So a fear of same-sex relationships, obviously. But my definition or my like personal perspective on it, how I define it is maybe people not understanding that sexuality, it could be a spectrum, and a lot of things are entailed, like religion, how they're raised, culture. So when a person who has these initial fears, it could stem from like various things, whether it was from personal experience, or they've experienced someone who is a homosexual and it wasn't a good experience, so that induces their fear, and like I said, just a variety of things. So in basic terms, it means something so small, but it could really like be an array of things and definitions.
We're definitely discriminated against in many different ways, through laws, through businesses and how they do hiring. I mean, it's systematic, it's everywhere until it's completely equal at all levels, like ecological levels. It's going to be still happening, I guess.
One of my, I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and during high school I was a gay teenager in San Bernardino County in Ontario, and of course, just like many youth today still experience a lot of bullying, a lot of negativity toward anything LGBT related, using the phrase "that's so gay." But my first, incident of like real action, against gay people, I was at the library here in Long Beach, and someone, and it was a gay coffee shop at the time. It's still pretty queer, I guess. I haven't been there in years. We were outside having coffee, being a bunch of queers, and someone actually threw eggs at us on the from their car. They egged us. Got all over my clothes, which I had just bought. But that wasn't the real issue. The issue was that, wow, even in a place where I thought was safe, where it was a queer-friendly space, there was someone that was so resistant to us being there, who had such strong feelings about the community that they had to show it through buying a dozen eggs and throwing it at individuals who he assumed to be gay, actually. And it was very cowardly that he did it from his car and then ran off. And we knew it was an act of homophobia because he was yelling derogatory terms like dykes and fags while he was driving.
In high school, one of the first things I remember, like people just not being respectful or being mean, were just, this group of kids just threw ice and rocks at us for being queer and different. Like, there's gay, there was straight, there was bi, we were all the little misfit kids, I guess you could say. And that was the first one I was like, geez, like what's the point in that? Like, what is that accomplishing on your end? Nothing. No one lashed out on our side. We just kind of laughed at him because it was so silly.
So I was raised in a Catholic household, and most of my family were immigrants. So they immigrated from Vietnam, and where they lived was very conservative, and their aspects of homosexuality is that it is wrong. To be honest, I have not been out to some of my family members because of what they've said and how they feel against it, and that's their personal beliefs, and I can't change it. So I hear it pretty often, but I do have some support in general, but it's tough. I've experienced it in Washington, D.C. I've seen people get beaten, I've seen people get hurt, and even stabbed at one point. So it definitely does exist.
I came out to my parents, it was my sophomore year, and I came out to them in a letter. I wrote my mom a letter and I put it in her bag, and I told her to read it when she got to work. And so she got to work, she read it, and I was already in my room, and I heard my dad get on the phone, and it was my mom. And I didn't hear the conversation because I was in my room, but after he put down the phone, I heard banging and, you know, stuff being thrown. And my dad came into my room, and he screamed, "Is this a nightmare? Is what she's telling me real?" And I said, yeah, it is. And he just walked out in pure rage and then just left. And I was just left there in my room, and I just fell asleep. The next day, it wasn't discussed. But the next day after that, they confronted me about it. And, they were in disbelief. They didn't want to believe it. And, yeah, they were just really, I guess, they didn't want to understand it. And to this day, they still don't understand it. And, yeah.
I think the wave is there. I mean, the wave is coming into shore. I think that, while a lot of our discussions have been around the topic of marriage, which, I fully support marriage equality, we need to expand the conversation, definitely, into what are some of our more pressing issues like homelessness in the LGBT community, substance abuse in the LGBT community. A lot of that stems from non-acceptance. And to stop that, or to cure homophobia, per se, I don't have a definite answer on how to do it, but making ourselves known, making ourselves represented, not feeling that shame, and feeling, to use maybe a cliche word, feeling that pride.
There's only one thing that I believe that there's only one thing to do, or one solution to this problem. That is dialogue. Dialogue between the gay people of society, and of course, dialogue between the people, I guess, who don't like the gay lifestyle, or even religious people. We need a dialogue to come to a harmony with each other. And that's the only way, because we can't not have dialogue. If we don't have dialogue, we'll always stay apart. The only way that this can be solved, or the only way that we can come to terms with each other, is by dialogue.
In reality, I think social standards require us to put things into boxes so we can relate and so we can identify and understand. So it's a little bit of like conflicting ideas, because like on one end everyone's like, yeah, like we need to just accept everything and it doesn't matter what you identify and everything can be cool. But in reality, to really connect with people, sometimes you do need to put them in a box. So I kind of feel like it. Ideally, I wish our world can operate in this whole thing where I can just say I'm human. You're human, we're cool. But sometimes to have that more connection, unfortunately you need that identifier, you need the box. But I think where it comes like in a negative perspective is when someone can take that idea and tell you, okay, that's wrong because of that identifier. So like this seems so small, but at the same time this can actually make a big impact for maybe not as many individuals, but maybe that one person. So just get it out there. Just start talking about it.